What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Jordan Sather here on April 14th, and what I'm going to discuss with you in this video is why I think Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are absolutely trolling the world right now. And before you judge, what I'm going to have to say, because I know it's probably not a popular opinion right now, I don't write all this and say these things and make this video without heavy calculation behind why I think what I think. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, okay? I'm not attached to being correct, but the reason I want to lay these things out to you is because, first and foremost, dude, I don't know what it is with people, but everybody and their mother has their negative Nancy pants on lately, and people are just absolutely, like, expecting the worst. And understand the power of your co-creative consciousness, people. If you focus on a negative outcome of a situation, that is so much more likely to happen. If you focus on the positive route and the optimal timeline, you're putting your energy into that. So understand what you're doing with your emotions and your thoughts. And secondly, I think there's a lot of dots. I mean, what's going on right now in the world, especially the past week, is just so, crazy that there's so many dots that people are missing. So what I'm going to try to do, obviously, by this fancy new whiteboard that I just purchased, is try to connect a lot of these dots for you. And when I look at the world through hopeful, faithful eyes, all of these dots just kind of come to me. And I think if you do look at things with a positive perspective, that avenue of that timeline occurring will just, the universe will give it to you. So I'm going to try to show you what I see in things right now. And first, right, Trump and Putin trolling the world. Now, I want to begin with 10 days ago with that false flag attack. So I'm just going to run through all of my bullet points here for you guys. April 4th. Syria gas false flag happens, and right off the bat it was obvious that it was a false flag. Ron Paul called it out, everybody called it out. Super easy, right? What does Donald Trump do? And this is a point that I don't think a lot of people are putting enough emphasis or understanding on. Dude calls Putin and Assad. That's the first thing he does, right? That was published I saw it in The Intercept, mainstream media right there. Also, keep in mind, as I go through all this, every single bullet point, I don't want to take the time to edit this video because that takes me hours. So everything comes from an article. It's all right. I'll link as much of this as I can. But understand, I'm not connecting any of these dots without first verifying the dot. So Trump calls Putin and Assad, right? 2 days later, 59 missiles are shot at that airbase. Everybody knows that by now. But still a fact a lot of people don't know. Only 23 of those missiles hit that Syrian airbase, okay? Russia calls them unaccounted for, and there's been no word on Syrian end or American end as to where those missiles went. Now, some people say, okay, Russia had their defense set up or Syrians had their air defense set up, but why haven't they said anything about it? I got a lot of questions as to other theories people are having, okay? Put yourself in this situation for a sec. This is where, I don't think enough people are putting themselves in the situation to understand what's going on. There's not enough empathy going on. It's all emotional reaction, even in the alternative media. It's like I've, not only corporate media, but alt media lately. It's just been killing me to read because there's all this emotionally reactive biased reporting. Imagine you're Donald Trump in this situation. What are you going to do? You call up Putin, you call up Assad, you say, dude, Assad, give me an airbase, give me an empty airbase that I could hit, right? Donald Trump's not an idiot. He knows this is a false flag. He knows very well one of his arch enemies, John McCain and company, probably pulled this attack, okay? So he calls up Assad, he finds an empty airbase, one that's obscure, that's out of the way, right? Minimal casualties would be, and he bombs that airbase with 23 missiles, right? There's eyewitness reports of people taking stuff out of this base because they know it's going to get hit. So he concocts this plan with Putin, Trump, Assad, right? He hits the airbase. Where do the other 36 missiles go? I speculate, I have a educated guess that they went and hit ISIS bases, proxy targets, because Trump very well knew who pulled that gas attack. Now, here's the thing. When he called up Putin and Assad, what they did is they formulated a plan. They outlined a general framework in which this plan would go, and they understood that there'll be scripts they'll each stick to. But what they're going to do with this plan is kind of a multi-fold operation, and they're going to fool frickin' everybody with it. Okay? So, in my opinion, these missiles went to hit ISIS. Now, what happens on April 10th and 11th, just a couple days after those missiles? We see some serious ISIS retaliation in Syria, okay? Not only did the Russians suffer a couple casualties and some backlash from ISIS forces, but a coalition base that was near the Jordanian-Syrian border was hit hard by ISIS. So, I mean, almost like you're killing candida in the human body, these missiles go hit ISIS targets, ISIS retaliates. You don't really connect these dots between these two unless you speculate with all this stuff like I am, okay? So Russians, 2 people died in a mortar attack by ISIS. Coalition base sustains heavy fire because, in my opinion, these proxy targets are probably the ones that got hit. Now, since then, right, after all of this is going on, mainstream media and alternative media is like, what the flying shit is going on, okay? And even John McCain, right, he was on record saying, we shouldn't join forces with the Russians against ISIS after all this, right? He's still trying to defend his proxy army here. Now, here's the thing. Everybody has this script to stick to. And this is what I don't think a lot of people are seeing. But when you do see it, it's obvious. And it plays out like a really freaking bad B-movie, okay? So, Spicer is up there, right, talking, like, comparing Assad to Hitler and giving the media, the mainstream media, so many talking points to distract them with. Mattis, right, I watched his live conference about Syria on Monday or Tuesday, was it, of this week? And he's a real bad actor, I'll just tell you that, because he was adamant. He was saying, look past the words and understand what's going on behind the scenes when you put the words to it. He's like, it was no doubt Assad. It was no doubt Assad. It was no doubt Assad. That was his line. And then when the corporate media asked him, well, what about Russia? He goes, don't worry. We got it all handled. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but this was like his attitude. He kind of smiled. He smirked a little bit. You could tell, right? You could tell there were secret agreements that we didn't know about. So, and Assad and Putin are letting these, right? They know what the Americans are going to say. At least Trump and Mattis, they know their lines. Trump and Mattis and Spicer, right? The Trump administration, they know Putin and Assad's lines. These guys' lines, Putin and Assad, they're calling out as a false flag because they can. You know, then they're waking everybody up. They're like, false flag, obvious, right? And that's being reported everywhere. So these guys are calling it out as a false flag. Trump, Mattis, and Spicer are being like, oh, no doubt it was Assad, no doubt, right? And they're all sticking to their script. One of my friends put it, he put it this way, it was a reverse multinational false flag. I thought that was a really good way to put it. All these guys are completely trolling the neocons right now. The neocons are like foaming at the mouth for war, and the corporate media, right? The missiles go off and on CNN, who was it? Brian Williams was like, oh my God, beautiful missiles. And now just a couple days later, they're like completely slamming him for being a war hawk. So they don't know what to do, mainstream media. Now, I wrote here mainstream and behind-the-scenes scripts because I want to discuss that with you really quick. The mainstream script, right, is everybody, this is the script for everybody whose mind is plugged into the corporate media, who thinks it was actually Assad. And that's why you know, Trump, Mattis, and Spicer, they're all saying, no doubt it was Assad, no doubt. It's the mainstream script they got to stick to. Then I wrote behind-the-scenes script, and this is for the people that know it was a false flag, but who are still trying to understand what's going on. So what Spicer did is kind of mention Ivanka Trump, and this is really interesting because a lot of people are thinking it was Ivanka Trump that pulled Daddy's heartstrings and got him to send the missiles in. This isn't high school. Like that's just ridiculous to think. Trump is way smarter than that, and that just seems absolutely ridiculous to me. So, but that's the behind the scenes script for people in the alt media who would kind of fall for it, per se, right? Like we had the FBI anon come out on Victoris Libertas and some other people thinking that it was Ivanka's fault these missiles got fired. So there's a couple scripts, per se, that are going on, a couple narratives thrown out there for people to attach to distract them, right? Basically, Trump, Putin, and Assad are in China as well, along with North Korea, because that's just another distraction. They are distracting the world with war, while a lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes to take down the neocons, the pedo elites, and the deep state. Now, following along the line with that script, that show that Assad and Putin have to put on, Putin kept Tillerson waiting. That was when I was just like, oh my god, that's ridiculous. They're playing a show right now. So Tillerson was in Moscow earlier this week, and Putin kept him waiting for a few hours before he meet him. Another kind of show is Trump and Bannon having a feud. Dude, Bannon's like his best friend right now. There's no right. Bannon was called what was he called? President Bannon, because he was like Trump's chief strategist. What is the best way to hold power? You do it from behind the scenes, right? That's how the bankers have always done it. That's what Bannon's doing. So they're putting on this feud between Trump and Bannon. They're putting on this feud between Putin and Trump, which is also why the mainstream media doesn't know what the heck to report right now, because they're like, oh my god, that narrative that we had for so long are destroyed. So all this show, it's just a game. It's a big game. But it's a good game. It's not the normal bad false flag game that we've had for so long. And Trump doublespeak, I wrote here, because when you listen to what he says, there's so much given behind the words, per se. For instance, when he was addressing the 59 missiles being sent off in his address of it, what did he say? He said, "No child of God shall suffer the wrath of chemical attacks." Well, because Trump knows who really put off the chemical attacks, the neocons. And that's who he's fighting right now. He talks about children quite a bit. And he also talks about secretive technologies and military issues quite a bit. It's very interesting. Anyway, that brings us to yesterday, right? U.S. bombs ISIS chemical depots. That happened in Syria. U.S. airstrike. Let me specify. I should have wrote that there. An airstrike hit an ISIS chemical depot in Syria. What does that mean? That means that deconfliction pact or whatever that the Russians had with America, that means that was just a show. That means we still very well have air, right? The Russians and the Americans working together in the air to take out ISIS targets, because that's really what's going on. This is a big, huge distraction to absolutely destroy ISIS. Right? That Moab was just dropped in Afghanistan. Again, that's Trump telling his neocons, boom, screw your proxies. And then we have that North Korea distraction. Now, where does that fit into the picture? So, North Korea is a Chinese puppet. A Chinese puppet, right? North Korea, they're always like shooting weird things, and they're always doing their thing over there. North Korea is a tiny little country. What are they really going to do to us, right? So, North Korea is a puppet state of China. What happened with China, okay? This is a massive power play. You got to understand. Trump was eating dinner with the president of China when he sent off the missiles. What happened a couple days later? China was like, we want peace. We're not going to mess with these guys. Yep. So, how does that bring North Korea into the picture? Well, China probably got brought along with this game that Russia and America are playing, and China is instructing their puppet state, North Korea, to play along. This is why when Mattis was asked during that press conference, why are you sending the Stennis into the Pacific? You try to find a video of it, because it's interesting. He's just like, meh, just because. It was going to go that way, and then we decided to make it go this way. That was basically his reaction. It was freaking hilarious. I was watching it. And so, not only will Trump and company distract the world with Syria war, they'll distract the world with North Korea war, they'll distract the world with everything while the pieces are set behind the scenes. What pieces are those? And this is what's really important. This is what a lot of people don't don't fit into the picture because they're so hyper-focused, right? Again, holistic thinking, take a step back, connect all the dots. While the pieces are aligned to take out the pedos, I want to bring you now to 3 pieces of legislation that were passed by the House Judiciary Committee the day before that false flag attack. 3 pieces of anti-pedophile, anti-child exploitation legislation passed by the House Judiciary Committee headed by Jason Chaffetz. And Trey Gowdy, again, was spearheading this legislation too. Who's now headed the House Intelligence Committee? Trey Gowdy. Again, pieces being aligned while the world is distracted. Also, some things that were going on behind the scenes while the world was distracted with all this play. Disclosing of secret space program projects. So we actually had, again, the day before that happened, the false flag, the Air Force Space Command restructured a lot of their enterprises. And the Air Force was given nearly a $4 billion contract to run drones out of Area 51. That's some pretty important stuff going on, I'll tell you what. Anyway, pedo elite pieces are being aligned, disclosure of technologies and space projects being aligned, and then a revaluation of the currency, which is imminent, which BRICS is setting up, right? They're hopping onto the gold standard, and Trump even made a mention about a weakening. He said the dollar is too strong, and now people are questioning, like, why are you changing your position on that? Well, it's because Trump knows that a currency reevaluation is very soon. So what'll speed up the process to a crashing economy, which will then lead to a currency reevaluation? War. Oh my God, right? It's like he's blowing all this shit up because he knows that, well, you know, who cares if this is all unconstitutional and all that jazz? We're about to arrest all the frickin' pedo elites anyway. Trump's probably not even worried about a next election or getting in office again because he is there to freaking destabilize it. He's there just to set it all on fire, and that is exactly what he's doing. And while the world is completely distracted by all this war talk, it's just he's taking the freaking fire to the, you know, the Molotov cocktail to the pedo palaces. So this is kind of some dots I hope connected for you. This is how I'm looking at it right now. I have zero problem, like I said, changing my mind with what's going on. But, oh dude, Eagle. Which is really funny because I was going to end with this quote right here by Nostradamus. And that quote is, the eagle and the bear team up to take out the snake and the dragon. And who are the frickin' snakes? All of the frickin' pedophiles. And then an eagle goes and flies by the window right there. Anyway, much longer video than I wanted to do, but, and probably, you know, one of the last videos I'll do on politics for a while because this stuff is just stressing my brain, but I want to lay out a positive timeline, a positive scenario for you guys because it's so important right now to look at the world in a positive light. And hey, even if I'm wrong, even if none of this is really some grand chess match going on and Trump is a, you know, flaming dickhead who just wants to bomb the world, hey, looking at it positively, boom, it's being exposed, good. But I still don't think that's happening. I still think that there is it's just a freaking bunch of awesome moves happening that we can't understand yet. We don't know quite yet, but we can grasp at, and this is me just grasping at it. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this much longer video than I wanted to do, but thank you for watching if you watched to this point. Peace out.